Greetings to everyone. So today in this video we are going to learn a new chapter, that is packing. This is written by Jerome Klapka Jerome. Jerome K. Jerome is a British writer of a Victorian period, best known for his comic novels. And the story that we are going to read is a humorous story written by him. It's a humorous novel written by him. Although he faced difficult circumstances and poverty in early life, Jerome developed a passion for literature, politics, and the theatre. So the part of the novel that we are going to study has a theme of packing. Okay, so this part is an excerpt. This is an excerpt or an extract, you can say, which is taken from his novel Three Men in a Boat. So the characters here are Jerome, who is also the narrator here in the story, Harris, George, they are friends to Jerome, and Montmorency, Jerome's dog. Let's move on to our next slide. So before we start with the story, let's discuss these questions given here. Do you like going on trips? What kind of trips do you enjoy most? How do you feel about having to pack your trip or for a trip? Have you ever discovered on a trip that you have forgotten to pack a few things you very much need or that you cannot find them easily? Does this make you angry or does it make you laugh at yourself? Now read this description of the author and his friends packing their bags. So here in this story, you are going to learn the part of the novel or an excerpt taken from the novel, that is Three Men in a Boat. So let's start. I is the narrator, as I told you before, and the name of the narrator is Jerome K. Jerome. He is also the author of the story or of this novel Three Men in a Boat, from where this excerpt or an extract has been taken. I said I would pack. I rather pride myself on my packing. I rather pride myself on my packing here means I rather proud on myself. So the author here is proud of his abilities of packing bag. So he feels proud of himself that he is capable and able enough to pack his bag. Packing is one of those many things that I feel I know more about than any other person living. So you can see he boasts about himself, saying that he is very good at packing and nobody can undo him while packing. So it has a deeper interpretation over here. While we read the chapter, come to know what he wanted to say, whether he actually wanted to pack the bags or that he wanted to supervise his friends while packing the bag or boss the job. Let's find out. It surprises me myself sometimes how many such things there are. I impressed the fact upon George and Harris and told them that they had better leave the whole matter entirely to me. They fell into the suggestion with a readiness, agreeing to it. With a readiness means they agreed to his suggestion. Whose suggestion? Jerome's suggestion. Okay, he suggested him that he's very good at packing the bag, so he wanted to do so. But what he intended to mean will explore later on while we read this chapter. There had something uncanny about it. Uncanny means very suspicious, very strange about it. George spread himself over the easy chair and Harris cocked his legs on the table. To cock the legs on the table means to sit in a relaxed way. Okay, so he sat on the chair in a relaxed way. This was hardly what I intended. Now here comes the main point. What he meant to say from here. was that he wanted to boss the job rather packing the bags himself. What I had meant, of course, was that I should boss this job and that Harrison George should potter about under my directions. That is, he is going to boss over the job. He wanted to supervise his friends and wanted them to follow his instruction. I pushing them aside every now and then with, "Oh, you, here, let me do it. There you are, simple enough." Really teaching them, as you might say. Their taking it in the way they did irritated me. So when they took author's instruction in the other way out, that irritated him. This nothing does irritate me more than seeing other people sitting about doing nothing when I'm working. So that irritated, isn't it? Actually, the author intended to sit and boss the job, to supervise, to instruct his friends, but they took his suggestion in other way out. Okay, it was differently taken and he was irritated by this. I lived with a man. So, as Jerome had the habit of narrating an incident always, and when you'll read his novel, you'll come to know about it. So, here he describes about an incident where he talks about a man once who used to make me mad that way. He would loll on the sofa, he would move here and there on the sofa and watch me doing things by the hour together. He said it did him real good to look on at me messing about. Now I'm not like that, Jerome says about him, that he's not that sort of person. I cannot sit still. So here he again brags about himself, about his ability and capability of packing the bag, and says that, that I'm not that sort of person that I would sit still, calm, and see another man slaving and working. I want to get up and superintend and walk, that is supervise, and walk around with my hands in my pocket. So this is what he calls work. Isn't it amazing and humorous? And tell him what to do. It is my energetic nature. I cannot help it. So you can see Jerome bragging about himself when he narrates an incident, saying that once he met a man who superintended him, tried to supervise him, and loved seeing him messing about here and there. But he is not that sort of person. He says he cannot sit still. Rather, he loves to walk around with his hands in his pockets and tell everybody how to pack the bag, and he considers himself to be a very energetic man. However, I did not see anything, he says, but started the packing. It seemed a longer job than I had thought it was going to be. But I got the bag finished at last, and I sat on it and strapped it. So finally the bag was packed and it was tightened up. Strapped, it means the bag was closed and tightened up, isn't it? "Aren't you going to put the boots in?" said Harris. And in between, Harris intervened and said that, "Aren't you going to put the boots in?" And that, just imagine the condition of Jerome then. And I looked around and found I'd forgotten them. That's just like Harris. Harris is considered here as a very irresponsible person. He couldn't have said a word until I had got the bag shut and strapped. Of course, and George laughed. One of those irritating, senseless laughs of his. So he's considered to be irresponsible and senseless person over here. They do make me so wild. Make me so wild here means make me so irritated. Whom irritated? Jerome. I opened the bag and packed the boots in, and then just as I was going to close it, a horrible idea occurred to me. Had I packed my toothbrush? Now next what? After boot, it was toothbrush that, reflected in his mind. The idea of whether he had packed his toothbrush or not. I don't know how it is, but I never do know whether I have packed my toothbrush, which is again one of the most essential commodities he might have left. My toothbrush is a thing that haunts me. That haunts me means that frightens me when I'm traveling and makes my life a misery, he says. I dream that I haven't packed it and wake up in a cold perspiration, sweating. Perspiration here means sweating. And get out of bed and hunt for it. Hunt for it means search for it, isn't it? Searching for something means hunting for. Okay? And in morning I pack it before I have used it and have to unpack again to get it. And it is always the last thing I turn out of the bag, and then I repack and forget it and have to rush upstairs for it the last moment and carry it to the railway station wrapped up in my pocket handkerchief. Of course, he says, I had to turn every mortal thing out now. Every mortal thing here refers to each and every ordinary thing. Okay, each and every ordinary article that he had already packed. So he had to turn out all the things, and of course I couldn't find it, and he couldn't find it there. I rummaged the things up into much the same state that day. I rummaged the things means he started searching, hunting for the things in a hurried or careless manner. Okay, so he rummaged the things up into much the same state that they must have been before the world was created. The world was created, it's very humorously said over here. So the things have been compared. Before the world was created, everything was messed up. Nobody knows how the world is created, what's the relevant theory behind it. But still, he did the same thing. In order to find out the thing, he just threw each and every mortal thing, each and every ordinary article that he had already packed here and there, okay, in order to find out the things that they must have been before the world was created. And when chaos reigned, as I told you, chaos or mess reigned. So before the bag was packed, isn't it, it was all messy over there. And when it was packed, it was packed in an organized way. Now what he did, in order to find or hunt for the things, he had again unpacked it, and those things have been compared to the state when the world was created. The world was in the same position and state, that is, chaos reigned at that time. Okay, there was that was all messed up. Okay, of course I found George's and Harris's 18 times over, and I found my own. I put the things back one by one and held everything up and shook it. Then I found it inside a boot. I repacked once more. So where it at last it was found? It was found in a boot, and again he repacked his bag. So finally, when the bag was strapped and Jerome had finished with the packing, George asked if the soap was in, and I said I didn't care a hang, means I'm least bothered. Jerome says whether the soap was in or whether it wasn't, and I slammed shut the bag and strapped it and found that I had packed my spectacles in it and had to reopen it. It got shut up finally at 10:05 p.m. and then there remained the hampers to do. Hampers to do means baskets to do. Baskets to be packed. Harris said that we should be wanting to start in less than 12 hours time and thought that he and George had better do the rest, and I agreed and sat down and they had a go. They had started with their packing work. Okay. They began in a light-hearted spirit, means loose manners, in a very relaxed way, evidently intending, showing that they are capable enough to pack their bags. I made no comment, and Jerome says that he did not comment anything. I only waited. With the exception of George, Harris is the worst packer. So he compares George to Harris and says that Harris is the worst packer in this world. And I looked at the piles of plates and cups and kettles and bottles and jars and pies and stoves and cakes and tomatoes, etc., and felt that the thing would soon become exciting. Now it did. It was Zeron's turn now to observe and see them packing, whom? George and Harris. So finally Harris started with his packing work. They started with breaking a cup. That was the first thing they did. They did that just to show what they could do, how capable they are. So it was all sarcastically said, isn't it? Now it was Jerome's turn to take, just to observe the things being packed by Harris. And so he did that, and to get you interested, then Harris packed the strawberry jam on top of a tomato and squashed it, and they had to pick out the tomato with a teaspoon. So isn't it, it shows how difficult it is to pack the bag. Sometimes it may be for you also. And suppose if you have packed your bag and someone from your family comes and says that, have you packed? Have you packed everything? Nothing is left. So that's really, it's very irritating. So it was for Jerome as well. And then it was George's turn and he trot. Trot means he walked on the butter. I didn't say anything, but I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. It irritated them more than anything I could have said. I felt that. It made them nervous and excited, and they stepped on things in nervousness and put things behind them, and they could find them when they wanted them. And they packed the pies at the bottom and put heavy things on top and smashed the pies in. So all the mess created by George now. They upset salt over everything, means they've started spreading salt. They had spread salt everywhere. And as for the butter, I never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence worth of butter in my whole life. So this is the next incident that you're going to enjoy in this chapter over here. That is the butter, which cost only 1 and 2 pence, and how they started hunting for this 1 and 2 pence worth of butter. After George had got it off, that it was taken and scrapped from his slipper, they tried to put it in the kettle. It wouldn't go in, and what was in wouldn't come out. They did scrap it out at last and put it down on a chair, and Harris sat on it and it stuck to him, and they went looking for it all over the room. I'll take my oath. I put it down on that chair, said George, staring at the empty seat. I saw you do it myself not a minute ago, said Harris. Then they started round the room again looking for it. So they were looking for what? They were looking for butter. And then they met again in the center and stared at one another, finding it very suspicious, like where the butter had gone. Just now it was here, and George trotted on it, kept it on the chair, then where it has gone. Most extraordinary thing I ever heard of. Most unique thing, very mysterious, George says, said Harris. Then George got round at the back of Harris and saw it. Why, here it is all the time, he exclaimed indignantly in anger, because they had been searching for, they had been looking for, they had been hunting for that 2 pence worth of butter all around the room, and finally they got it behind Harris, isn't it? At Harris's back, cried Harris, spinning round. Stand still, can't you? Roared George, flying after him, and they got it off and packed it in the teapot. Montmorency was in it all, of course. So we know that Montmorency is Jerome's dog, and he loves being scolded by his master, isn't it? And irritating others is his sole job. Okay, so Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in way and be sworn at. Sworn at means scolded at. If he can squirm, if he can slither or intervene anywhere, okay, or anyone's job where he particularly is not wanted or needed, and be a perfect nuisance and make people mad or irritate them and have things thrown at his head, then he feels his day has not been wasted. Finally, he has made his day, he has accomplished his task. He came and sat down on things just when they were wanted to be packed, and he labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out their hand for anything, it was his cold, damp nose that they wanted. So what was his fixed belief? What was his belief? His belief was that whenever Harris or George reached out for the things to be taken, packed into the bag, inside the bag, it was his cold, damp nose that they wanted. So it was his false belief. He put his leg into the jam and he worried the teaspoons, and he pretended that the lemons were rat, and got into the hamper. Hamper means basket, and killed 3 of them before Harris could land him with the frying pan. Fine? Now Harris said, I encouraged him. I did not encourage him. A dog like that doesn't want any encouragement. he is born with that natural original sin. Okay, it is the natural original sin that is born in him that makes him do things like that. Nobody has ever encouraged him to irritate others. The packing was done finally at 12:50, and Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. George said that if anything was broken, it was broken, nothing could be done now, which reflection seemed to comfort him. The idea seemed to comfort him. He also said he was ready for bed. We were all ready for bed. Harris was to sleep with us that night, and we went upstairs. We tossed for beds, and Harris had to sleep with me. He said, "Do you prefer the inside or the outside, Jay?" Jay here is Jim, Zero. I said I generally preferred to sleep inside a bed. Harris said it was odd. George said, "What time shall I wake you fellows?" Harris said 7. I said, "No, 6, because I wanted to write some letters." Harris and I had a bit of row here means commotion, okay, fight over it, but at last split the difference. They sought out the difference, whatever they had, and said 6:30. Wake us at 6:30, George, we said. George made no answer, and we found on going over that he had been asleep for some time. So we placed the bath where he could tumble into it on getting out in the morning and went to bed ourselves. So this was a small excerpt written by Jerome K. Jerome. This complete novel, that is Three Men in a Boat, is written by Jerome K. Jerome, and this is the excerpt taken from Jerome K. Jerome. Hope you have understood the story, and if you have doubts, you can clear your doubts in the class. Thank you, children. Thank you very much.